and welcome to Girls Gaze Animes, where it is safe to love what you love and love who you love. I'm your host, Valsaraptor, and I love speaking in awkward accents whenever I'm in a situation that makes me uncomfortable. I'm here with my co-host, Tea.
Hi, I'm T, and I love making my husband play video games just so I can fall asleep faster.
We have a special guest today. Some of you may recognize her. She's going to introduce herself.
Hi, I'm DokiDokiBunBun, and I love ruining shows I haven't even watched yet.
Thanks for coming.
Great
Sorry
to
I was
have
sick
you.
the last time.
It's okay. We missed you, though.
I missed being here. I would much rather be here than being violently ill.
I thought you were going to say then violently throwing up, which is what I think you were doing when you missed the last recording.
I was!
Beautiful. Well, for those that are tuned in today, it's kind of a vague topic that we're going to talk about today, but it's basically all of our favorite LGBTQ plus medias. And so that could be anime, that could be manga, manhwa. I always forget, and I'm glad that we have Bunbun on today to talk about it, but there's the Chinese equivalents of those topics. And so we're going to kind of jump around, talk about those and what we like about them and how we think that they've influenced folks. And
they're like bringing awareness, I would say. You know, making people not feel alone, introducing people to other things that they might not be. Like, kind of like on the last podcast where we were mentioning how there could be someone in the middle of the country that doesn't know what being gay is, but they can watch it on TV and be like, oh, I can relate to that. That's how I feel. That's not something that's weird.
Right, yeah, kind of like the cultural impact of some of the medias.
Yeah.
Let's start off with T. Do you have a favorite LGBTQ, pride inclusive, anime, manga, manhwa? What you got?
So that's loaded. The first one that comes to mind is Sailor Moon with, you know, the cousins, Uranus and Neptune, who are deeply in love. And I remember when I was little and watching this on TV, and I was like, why are they saying they're cousins? Like, cousins don't, I hope, do that. I was really confused. And then I read the manga and found out that they were supposed to be lovers and not cousins, and thought that was a really, really shitty way to dub that. Also growing up with Pokemon and how James would cross-dress frequently and no one batted an eye. Loved that. Like Jessie was always, just Jessie will sometimes as well present masculine, but James is always almost in drag and no one cares, and I love that. I would also say one that I can think of from when I was older and in high school, I think I've mentioned it on the podcast before. It's called Gravitation. And that's like an old manga. Two guys fall in love. One of them's in a rock band. One of them's more like a serious business type guy. But that's one of the ones when I think of yaoi hands, I think of Gravitation. Like, that's where yaoi hands came from. It had cute art. I loved the story. It was really fun. Those are just a couple that come to mind, though. You guys, I know you probably got different thoughts, feelings.
I don't think that our thoughts are going to be too different. I know that Bunbun is a huge Sailor Moon fan, so I'll let her chime in on that.
I also do not understand why America was like, the way to fix this problem is to make them cousins. It would have been, I think, even if they wanted to like try to tone it down, if they'd been like, oh, they're friends, but they were like, no, they're related to each other. This is fine. I also found that very upsetting and confusing as a child, and like I remember looking, like me and my cousin watching it together and me looking at her and being like, no. Like, ew.
We are a love who you love podcast, but we don't love incest.
Don't. No. I think for me, when I think of like my favorite like queer anime and just in general like any type of that media, for me I feel very torn because I absolutely love danmei and manhwa, which are, like you were saying, the Chinese LGBTQ anime. I read the books quite a bit. I am a huge fan of the Grandmaster of Demonic Cultivation and Heaven Official's Blessing, which it's really exciting to see those like picking up a lot of popularity recently, because for a long time it was very hard to get your hands on stuff like that, and it still can be very tricky, especially for like GL. Like Chinese GL, very hard to get your hands on still. But I also really have a soft spot for Yuri anime. So like, you know, one of my favorites right now is I'm in Love with the Villainess. Also, we love a long title, but like the magical revolution of the, I think it's the reincarnated princess and the genius girl or genius noble or something like that. And it's very exciting because previously I feel like a lot of Yuri anime and manga was very like fan servicey, exploitative, like, and we're starting to get a lot more like wholesome and sweet love stories, and I'm so for it. I watch it, eat it up all day. It's so good.
Same. I think that's originally why I fell more into GL at first, because I mean, there were, like you said, there were stories that weren't as wholesome and sweet, but I felt like there wasn't a lot of BL that was wholesome and sweet, like in comparison. And
Yeah.
I remember the first one that I watched, oh gosh, it was like not Blue Flower. I think it's something along those lines, but I watched it on Crunchyroll before I even had an account, when I lived in the middle of nowhere and I had like a dial-up internet connection. So I had to wait basically a half hour to watch a half-hour show. And I remember watching that and being like, "Oh my gosh, this is so sweet. Like this, I love seeing these girls interact like normal girls would. It wasn't like overly sexual or anything like that." And then you run into the ones where, I know this, I'm probably gonna get flack for this, I cannot stand the anime Citrus, because
Oh, yeah.
it just, I mean, they're like siblings, and they're like, the one girl's really violent towards the other one. And I remember people telling me like, "Oh, you'll like it, just keep watching." And I'm like, no. I watched a couple episodes and I dropped it because I was just like, this is too much. So you have, like you said, the broad spectrum of, this is really cute, this is realistic, this is sweet, and then there's, I don't even want to talk about that. That's got trauma.
I feel like the theme for today has quickly become T really hates incest. That's like become the like thorough line for T watching anime when she was younger.
And can you
Which
hate
is
me for that?
upsetting. No, that's upsetting that like comes up so frequently in anime and manga. Like I don't love that we see that so much.
So I think leading up to kind of what I was going to say, like my hands down like favorite LGBTQ plus anime manga is Ouran High School Host Club, by the way. I love how seamlessly the characters are LGBTQ. You've got a main character that is clearly gender fluid, and they have a parent that is trans. That, I feel like, is one of the two options for how it has been in the past, where it's either just so seamless that no one notices, like how you talked about Team Rocket, or it's like the other, like total other end, where they try to cover it and they're like, you know what's better than gay people? Incest. And like that's kind of how they either seamlessly just like rolled through, or they tried to cover it up and they did a very poor job.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of like how it used to be. We're now, like you said, we're getting into the areas where it is more wholesome. It's becoming normal. Like it exists. Like we're bringing it forward. And I know we've talked about it before, T, right? Where there's even different representations of it, where you've got media where the coming out experience is very welcoming, and then they also are showing the coming out experience being something that they recognize as being challenging, and they highlight the challenges that go along with it. And I think that that's also very important for the consumers of this media to see and experience, as we talk about the cultural impact and it being more accepted in the future and as we move forward.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Especially, I know we mentioned it in the last episode as well, like how Skip and Loafer, the aunt in that anime, is trans, and they don't really bring much attention to it at first. Like they just present her, this is this character's aunt, and they live together. And in the back of my mind at first I was like, huh, she might be trans, I'm not sure, I don't want to like jump to any conclusions or anything. And then later it does become a minor plot point that this person is trans, and they worry that they're kind of deterring people from getting close to their niece, because they do present in this way, and they like go out on the train together and people kind of look at them, and the niece doesn't care, she loves her aunt, but there's people giving them the side eye. So that I did love in Skip and Loafer, how it kind of did cover both bases, where there's the, oh, this isn't a big deal, this is just her aunt, and then the aunt got to kind of express her experiences as being a trans person.
I think that's so important too, because like we said, like especially in, you know, a lot of cultures where it's still not socially acceptable to, you know, be the way you are and to love who you love and do things like that. I think it's so important that, you know, that type of representation be out there, and that, yeah, it is shown that it's normal, but also that that people are able to kind of see those difficult experiences that they may be living, or someone they know may be living, because it helps them to understand others better, which is so important.
I'm glad that you brought up other cultures, because I know you and I have talked about the Chinese literature versus, and I have some experience with like the Korean versus the Japanese, and I know that, and I don't know if it's just the style that you read, or if it is culturally driven, that it's a significantly slower burn than the other medias.
Yeah, I'm not sure specifically for the slower burn aspect if there's a cultural significance to that. I know specifically in a lot of the danmei that I read, you know, the romance is definitely a heavy, important part of the story, but it is also a very mild point. There is a lot more focus on like cultivation and the world that they're in, and the romance does not, it never sails to like the final book. Like you really have to wait. But I think from a cultural perspective, an important thing to note for like Chinese anime and stuff is that while this is allowed to be put in books, it is legally not allowed to be produced in anime. So for example, if you were to watch Modao Zushi or Grandmaster of Demonic Cultivation, they aren't allowed to explicitly show that there is a gay relationship between the two male leads. So instead what they do is, and it's very funny, because if you watch it, there's no way you could watch this and be like, oh, they are two very good friends. But they have like these two bunnies, and so like in a point in the show when like the two main characters should kiss or something, you'll see these two bunnies in the background kiss, and someone was trying to watch this and was like, man, me and my friend, we're just like this. This is so hetero. This is great.
Hetero.
But so they have to But so they have to find like these sneaky ways, I guess, around it to like tell the story in a way that is still legal, and like they're able to get through censorship and be able to produce. But so there's definitely a lot of restriction from that standpoint.
Okay, yeah, that's what I was kind of curious about too. I didn't realize that they do that with the animals, and I know you see that sometimes, I think, in animes and like Japanese and Korean media. Like I know with Sasuke Miyano, there's like the cats, but it's not a direct like correlation. It's more of like an indirect representation of them, or like what's kind of like happening in general, but that seems more explicit.
I feel like with the cats in Satsuki and Miyano, it was kind of like their internal thoughts and feelings were being represented by these cats, versus I mean, obviously internal thoughts and feelings for the bunnies as well, but at least with Satsuki and Miyano, they were able to hold hands, they're able to kiss.
Right.
Even if it's just the Yuri on ice, I'm hugging you kiss, but it's still there.
Yeah. Well, it's very interesting because in the manhwa and the books for those stories, they are very explicit. Like they get very spicy, many chili peppers at the end of the books. And so like I read the books before I watched the anime. So I went to watch the anime and I was like, whew, what am I in for? Not a single smooch to be found. I was furious. No smooches.
Wow.
Yeah.
Zero chili peppers. It's a glass of milk.
Negative chili peppers.
When you're expecting something spicy and then you accidentally drink milk. Oh no. Hopefully it was still good milk. I know.
It was great milk, but well, and it's I think extra funny because like the books, I was expecting a slow burn, so I just kept waiting. I kept waiting for the chili peppers, and they never arrived.
Speaking of that, though, I know there was the Omega verse anime that came out this year.
Mm-hmm.
And you're probably thinking, wow, chili pepper, chili pepper, chili pepper. However, when I say that this is the most wholesome thing that I have ever watched in my life,
That's what I've heard.
I was like, this is how confident I was in the wholesomeness on episode 3, okay? I'm watching it and I pause it because my husband comes in, he's talking to me, whatever. He's like, what you watching? And I was like, oh, I'm watching that Omegaverse anime that I told you about. And he's like, oh. And I was like, no. So wholesome, watch this. I scrolled around randomly, stopped, and then pressed play. And I was that confident, and sure enough, it was just like the little baby with his little baby cheeks, and he's like going up to his mom who was just very ill, and is like, was I quiet enough for you while you were sick? Do you feel better now?
Oh.
And I was like, you see what I mean? This is so, and I know that's not like one of those like accurate representations of LGBTQ media because it's so Megaverse, but like, it was so wholesome. I was so surprised, and
Sweet.
And I was watching the sub for it as well. Like, I was like, this is so cute, and I couldn't stop. So, for our listeners and for you guys too, if you need a brain cleanse, I know it sounds weird, but highly recommend this Omegaverse anime.
So nice. So refreshing.
Like, I love horror, and I love, like, action and stuff like that, but you give me a good old slice of life that I can sink my teeth into. Chef's kiss!
Yes. It's so comfy. It's like just so cozy to be able to like relax at the end of the day. And it's really, I think, funny because like I'll be watching it. I was watching Magical Revolution yesterday, so I was like, I'm gonna rewatch this just in time to record the podcast. And like my boyfriend's sitting there and he's like, all right, this is one of those ones you can just watch on your own. And I like look over and he's like over there like, little babies, they're in love. And I'm like, yeah, they are.
He was doing the dad thing where the dad's like, oh, what are you watching? And then like 20 minutes later you look over and the dad's just standing there like enthralled in whatever you're watching.
Like still on the staircase, yeah, just like leaning against it like he's about to start walking, but he's like fully invested.
I feel like that's the
100%.
opposite of the usual anime trope where you're like watching something and your parent walks in and it was a wholesome scene before and now it's like an X-rated death sex scene and you're like, this was not what I was watching 5 minutes ago.
I swear this is cute.
It's probably a trauma response that he had from watching Hellsing as a 12-year-old.
Yeah. Yeah. I would also do that. So when I was watching something that I shouldn't have been watching and I knew I shouldn't have, our TV had a recall button. So I would set that to like Disney Channel and then I would go and watch Adult Swim. And then if I heard someone coming, I would just click recall and it was like it never happened.
I am so glad that my son is not old enough to watch this because that idea has never crossed his mind and I need it to never cross his mind in the future.
I know, my son is like 2.5 and I'm very like, okay, we're gonna watch this together, and then he'll see something on YouTube and he's like, oh, can we watch that? And I'm like, I have to watch it first, but in the back of my mind I'm like, oh my god, he's gonna pull the mom trick. I'm gonna be walking down the stairs and he's gonna click that button and I won't know.
I worry, but my son just got his own. He can only watch shows if I come click on the show for him. But he now has his own Crunchyroll account on my thing, and I'm so nervous all the time because you never know what he's gonna click. So far, only Yashahime. That's it. It's just that on repeat, but you never know. So.
Especially like the title cards can be so misleading sometimes where they're like, oh, they're snuggling, and if you're like an anime veteran, you're like, I know what that is. But if you're just looking at it for the first time, you're like, oh, they're just hugging because they're friends. It's like,
yes.
No, they're not.
That was like the TikTok that I recently posted where it's like, I picked up these mangas because they looked cute on the outside, and then on the inside, they were absolute filth. Respectfully.
1000%. So, yeah, he can't click anything. We can only click for him.
I'm surprised Crunchyroll doesn't have the account restrictions like Netflix does.
Yeah.
They have very mild restrictions. They do have, so you can turn off mature content, so he's not going to accidentally see any boobies, which is great. But I also don't necessarily need him to see someone's, like, whole body cut in half yet.
Yeah,
There
yeah.
is no way to restrict that. So,
My
Yeah.
friend, her son accidentally saw. Oh God, I want to. Oh, what was it? It was like Berserk.
Oh.
no.
I think it was Berserk. He saw like the first 3 episodes by accident. And she's not into anime, so she'll text me and she'll be like, "Hey, is this okay?" And I'll give her like a basic rundown. Like when he got into Demon Slayer, she was like, "A lot of kids in his class like this. Is it something that I can let him watch?" And I was like, "There's this, and this. Like in this season, they technically are working in a red light district, but you don't really see that." So all of a sudden, like one day I was hanging out with her and she was like, "You'll never guess what he watched." And I didn't know. They were on vacation in Florida with her family, and her sister's children are a good couple years older than him, so he's in the end of elementary school and they're like end of middle school. And they were like, "Oh, he likes anime, let's watch this together." And her son didn't think, "Oh, I should go tell mom." He's just like, "Oh, it's anime, I'm allowed to watch anime." Ends up watching that, and from what I understand, he just saw like violence. He didn't see anything sexual or anything like that based off the amount of
Emotional
episodes
trauma.
that she told me. But the only reason she knew was because for his birthday, he asked for a sword from that show. And she ended up looking it up, and she texts me and she's like, "Is he ruined? Did I mess up so bad?" And she was like, "I ended up looking up what episode he was on, and you never know what they're gonna stumble across. Like, it can happen."
That was my thought. Like, imagine being a parent and not being into anime, but having a child that's into anime. There's so many different like types of media within this genre that like how do you?
It all looks cute.
It all looks cute.
I can't even imagine. I pre-watch every single show that my son watches. Luckily, he pretty much only likes stuff I like anyway, so it's very easy. But like even stuff like Spy Family, like some episodes super appropriate, some episodes super inappropriate.
I mean, look at My Hero Academia. It's not like a lot of gore. I mean, there's some blood, it's fine, but they over sexualize children.
Yeah.
Yep. Fruits Basket even is a great example. That is his favorite show in the whole world. But like we had to have some very heavy conversations to make sure he was like emotionally prepared and okay and understood a lot of the deeper implications of the show, and like it's hard. Like I can't imagine if I didn't also watch anime and I just like walked in and he's, you know, watching an episode about severe abuse and trauma.
Yeah. That's I've been trying to find things that my toddler would like, you know. So I tried to show him Hello Kitty, and he was like about that. And I tried showing him, I think it was like Chibi Godzilla, and they didn't have an English dub of it, so I could tell that he wanted to like it, like he was paying attention to it, but he couldn't understand what they were saying. He couldn't understand what was happening, so he wanted to watch something else. So I'm like, what can I want to share this with you. So we watch Pokemon right now, and he loves Pokemon and Hamtaro. Those are the 2 anime that he's into. But I was like, there's got to be something else that you can watch. It's so limiting.
It is limiting. My son pretty much only watched Ghibli and Sailor Moon at first.
Yeah,
pretty much
we watched.
Yeah.
We recently watched Ponyo, and he loved that. And now I like watching people make clay miniatures of things. And this guy came up that was making like a Ponyo little clay thing. And my son was like, Mama Ponyo, Mama Ponyo. And I was like, this is combining 2 of my interests. Yes, we can watch this.
Speaking of wholesome. Precious.
I feel like we flew off topic there. Sorry about that.
Off the rails, but we can segue into like maybe a side conversation about how, relative to those topics, like you talked about how Pokemon can have some representation, but how do you take anime, which has like so many different age ranges of media? They have like so many different ranges of like violence and intimacy. But for this generation, we've talked about already like how anime is cool now, so coming up, there are going to be a lot of, like, kids and younger than kids, babies, toddlers, but consuming this media. So do we think that there's a chance that that's going to increase? And then follow up related, kind of like circling it back to our original topic, but like, are we going to see more like gay representation in those medias as well? Like, is it going to be brought down? Because I feel like it kind of starts higher and you get some like adult and then you get like the teen, and we're like in the heavy like high school romance where, you know, the high schoolers are learning what it means to like who you like and stuff like that. But is it, I mean, how long do we think it's going to take for it to age down?
I think it might take a little longer than it would take in America per se. I know that in Japan it's still like very taboo to an extent, especially like being trans and things along those nature. I just saw a girl on TikTok the other day. She used to teach in a Japanese school and it was fairly rural, and she was talking about excuse me, about how her school wouldn't allow these kids, I think she taught high school, they wouldn't allow them to make an LGBTQ club. It just was not gonna happen, and they absolutely refused. So it also, I mean, I know in the cities and things like that, it is becoming more accepting, but I've also noticed people saying, hey, I'm trans and I'm going to Japan and I want to go into the bathhouses. Do I go in what I was born with or what I go in as I identify with? And people in the comments were saying, oh no, you are X gender, that's what you are, you go in that bathroom. And people are coming in the comments saying, no, you do not unfortunately do that in Japan. That's not where they are yet. You can't do that yet. So I would love to see it more broadly used, and not just as a joke like with James in Pokemon, but I don't know how long that's going to take per se in that medium.
Yeah, which is frustrating because I know for me, you know, my son's a little older, he's about to be 10, but like I use anime as a way to help educate him about other people. So like we watch, you know, Skate the Infinity, Heaven Official's Blessing. Like we're watching some of these different forms of media. He loves Sasuke and Miyano. Like, and to help him like understand that there are other people and different, you know, like all types of people, all spectrums of people. And so you know, I agree with T. I unfortunately don't think we'll see it for a long time, but I feel like it's so important and so frustrating that we won't see it for so long.
I'm wondering, so here's what I'm hopeful of, okay? So we've talked about how like anime is becoming more popular, and now there's these huge production companies that are just churning out anime. And so the increase in popularity, I think, is really driving more media. And so I'm hoping that, you know, because I've got a question here. It says, have fan interpretations and fan works contributed to the visibility and acceptance of LGBTQ plus themes? And I'm hoping that the more, like, I don't want to say like fudanshis and fujoshis, but like the more people who are engaging with this media and demanding this media, especially like I'm wondering if our influence here in the US and wherever our listeners are going to create that bridge and get us there sooner. Because when you think about fan interpretations, we talked about I'm wearing, so this is our like our gay episode, but I'm wearing my Haikyuu t-shirt. It's a sports anime, but it's one of those things where it's like there's a heavy fan interpretation that there's BL implications with it. And my favorite story of your son Bun Bun is that there was one time where he's like, I want to have just like a relaxed night, and you're like, sure, what would you like to do? And he's like, I want to take a bubble bath and I want to watch a romance anime. And you're like,
same,
absolutely.
man.
Yeah, so good. I made him a matcha. I was like, I got your bath bomb. I was like, what romance were we thinking? And he was like,
wait. Let T guess. Do you want to guess? So based on like what you know about what you've learned of him from this episode, yes, guess which romance this child wanted to watch.
I will give you a small hint. The only hint I was given was the one where the boys are in love. That's what I was given.
I don't know. It's
Skate the
so
Infinity.
vague because I was gonna say that could be Free, that could be Skate the Infinity. You mentioned Sasuke and Miyano, like that could be anything. That's so sweet though.
It was so cute and so wholesome, but I think Skate the Infinity is a perfect example of that. Like, it's such a great example of people were like, these sports anime are pretty romantic. And they were like, oh, you want romantic sports anime? Skateboarders in love. Here you go. And it is pungent enough that my 9-year-old, who does not know when people are sad half the time, was like, oh, those boys, they're so in love. It's romantic.
He was 8 at the time, even.
Yeah, that's true. He was 8, which probably questions why I showed him Skate the Infinity, but that's neither here nor there. He's fine. It turned out fine. Yeah.
I remember specifically when Yuri on Ice came out, the description was kind of vague, and I was like, oh, are they actually gonna be in love? You know, like I'm here for it. It's a sports anime, so maybe they're not in love, but like they are in love. And I was joking with my husband, and I was like, yeah, there's this new anime coming out. It's called Yuri on Ice. It's about lesbians that skate. And he was like, oh, really? That sounds cool. We should watch it. And then I turned it on, and he was like, his name is Yuri. Did you do that on purpose? And I was like, maybe. But then we both ended up absolutely loving it.
I always forget that Yuri on Ice is a sports anime, because in my mind it's a romance anime where they do sports versus a sports anime where there's romance.
It's a romance first and then a sport.
Yeah, I always forget that.
I had such a different viewing experience. You watch them spin in circles so many times. For me, it was very much sports first. I think I remember texting you and being like, I had to skip all of the spinning. Did I miss anything?
See, I have like a deep love for figure skating ever since I was a little kid. So I was already just enamored by that. I was watching the Olympics, like, whenever they were on, and drinking a bottle of wine and explaining to my husband, like, oh, this is this move, this is a triple sow cow. Like, all of a sudden, my vocabulary from when I was 6 and watching religiously just came back to me.
That was with me in Spanish.
That's my husband with French. All of a sudden, he can just, if he has a couple beers or, like, a couple drinks, all of a sudden, he's speaking French.
Ooh la la. So I guess a lot of times like babies will, like my little brother, when he was a baby, he would watch figure skating. It was very entertaining for him as a like literal infant. Do you find that your son likes Yuri on Ice as well? Like, is he entertained by like the skating piece of it? Have you tried?
I don't know. I feel like I should. Maybe he would.
You
especially
haven't?
Since it. No, because I'm iffy about certain
skip the naked butt scene.
I'm like, I gotta remember what happens where, and like I don't want to give him a complex about like naked butts or anything, because I remember in Totoro they take a bath with their dad, and like that's normal in Japan. They're taking a bath with their dad, that's no big deal. But here I am watching it at 4 years old, an American 4-year-old, and I'm like, why are they taking a bath with their dad? So I need to remember to explain to him, like, and he's 2.5, like, I gotta figure out how to explain to him what's going on, and then I have to explain to him what's going on, and then I have to watch it and remember, okay, this is what happens, and this is normal, but then I have to, like, translate it into 2.5-year-old verbiage. It's hard. That's why I was trying to watch Chibi Godzilla.
It's a hard line to toe, I feel like, of trying to, like, teach your child to not over-sexualize people, but also not, like, flood them with sexualized people.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like that can be tricky. Like, for example, in, like, Inuyasha, you have a lot of topless monsters, and my son loves Inuyasha, and I'm like, do I not show him this because he might see a nippleless boob, or do I show him it so that he realizes that people have boobs and it's not a big deal? But it's always tricky to, like, hold the line.
That is hard, because it's
I
like,
went with the latter.
Would you let him play with like a Barbie doll?
Yeah, and when he was younger,
there's no like physics on the Barbie doll necessarily, so I feel like that's a little different.
Well, that's kind of where I ended up drawing the line. Was there a nipple? Nipple, inappropriate. No nipple, I guess it's fine. That's where the line is for now. But because I feel like when I was younger, that was kind of how things were for me, where like my parents didn't really like, I guess, hide butts, for example. And I feel like sometimes like I don't know, I just feel like a lot of weird people had a lot of butts hidden. But like you gotta toe the line, like you said, like you don't want to show them too many butts though, or like the wrong type of butt, because then I don't know, I went off on a tangent. You just cut all that out. Cut out all the butts.
No, I get what you're saying, especially with Inuyasha.
Madoka
because
butt.
DokiDokiBunBun.
Butt.
Butt. Donka butt.
Ooh!
That's it, change my name.
Like, especially with Inuyasha, I feel like they're still being portrayed as like, I remember in the first episode, the spider weavy girl. She's topless, and like you said, there's no nipples, but she's not being shown in like a sexual way. She's like half a snake demon thing that's chasing them, and it just so happens that she's not wearing a shirt.
Exactly.
Whereas there are
that's the
anime where it's
difference.
like they're falling out, and this is very obviously fan service. And I feel like you could say, yeah, that is fan service. The boobs are out, but she's not doing anything sexual. She's being a demon who's not wearing a shirt.
Right, that's become more appropriate than like someone in Fairy Tale who is wearing a shirt.
Mm-hmm.
But I would argue their mostly covered boobs are somehow way more inappropriate in that situation. 100%.
I'm trying to think, like, in the US, we have become more open to, like, bodies and stuff. I know that is, I think it's one or the other. It's either more so or way less so in France. I feel like it's more so.
Or so.
Way more so, where, like, they can show stuff and it is okay. It is, like, not, very clear that it's not sexualized, and they're like, ew, why would you sexualize that? That's weird. Where here we kind of get into, like, weird stuff. In anime, it happens a lot more. It's tough because, like, when you read the manga for something, you're like, this is pretty cool. And then you see it animated and you're like, that is not what I was envisioning for this character.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it's like, and then sometimes you're watching JJK and this guy bites a fish out of the air. That never happened in the manga, okay? Am I mad about it? Yeah, am I mad about it? No. But that's all to say that, like, I think when we kind of, like, pull this back and look at the LGBTQ portion of it, I feel like in those medias, as it sits now, there's less sexualization in the animes. I will not say that is true for the mangas. But as, you know, as the, like, production companies are getting bolder with their choices, will we see that more? I mean, they took the first step and they've got the Omegaverse anime that we talked about, but are we gonna see, like, more GLs and BLs and stuff get animated, but then get animated with excessive fan service?
100%.
Yeah.
1 billion, 1,000, 1 billion%. So many percents.
Like, I'm not good at math, but I know more percents is more.
Yes, I don't see a world where that doesn't happen.
Yeah, it just depends on when.
Mm-hmm.
Like we said before, there's still I mean, even comparing us to France, like you just said, there's a difference in what is viewed as sexual and what's viewed as not sexual. And then comparing us to Japan or China and Korea, there's different levels of that as well. And how people view, I mean, there's some fan service in stuff, for example, Inuyasha, where it's a heterosexual couple and heterosexual situations and things like that. But there's definitely fan service, whereas with, for example, Sasuke and Miyano, I felt like there wasn't any fan service, and we even talked about how it was like they were barely holding hands, they were barely kissing, and they're progressing, they're making these steps, but if you look at the heterosexual things, they're like way beyond compared to what we're getting with the LGBTQ plus things.
Yeah, I feel like the reverse is true for the manga. Like, the mangas are getting so much spicier than I feel like hetero manga is. Like, way spicier. And I feel like it's only a matter of time before that's reflected in, like, visual media, like, TV and things like that as well.
There's this one manga that's, like, it's about these two actor dudes, and one of the actors is, like, the top actor guy, and he's, like, very famous and everyone loves him, and then there's this other one who's like trying to keep up with him, but he considers him to be his rival, right? There's an anime for it. I haven't watched it, but the manga is absolute filth.
I don't know. So I know which one you're talking about. I'm blanking on the name. But in the I couldn't get past the first episode in the anime, which was very suggestive. Their chins are drawn really weird. And I couldn't get past the weirdly drawn chins. But I will say,
I hate that.
It's that like weird, like shaded, like there's like a triangle of darkness under the chin.
I hate that.
But it did seem suggestive. Like I doubt it's as spicy, but it did seem like it was leaning towards spicy.
I think it's harder for like the BLs to be more fan servicey by nature, unless like. Okay, so I'll say when you're looking at a romantic BL, it's going to be harder to bake in fan service without it being very distracting, I think. Because unless there's like a scene... So, alright, so when you think of fan service on like a female level, you think anime physics. You think of like outfits way tighter than they should be. And I mean, you can get that in a BL. And unless you're, I wish Moon were here. She knows all the right words for describing things, but basically, like, when the pecs are pecking, like, they're very voluptuous pecs on a guy.
Like man boobs? But there's a name for it that I can't remember. But yeah.
Same.
I don't know. I feel like T brought up a great point to this, which is the butt scene in Yuri on Ice. That was clearly, like, fan service. There was no reason we had to see Victor's butt cheeks. There just wasn't. I'm sorry, internet, but we didn't have to see them. That was fan service.
But how do we know if he saw his peen or not if we couldn't see where his body came out of the water?
Oh, we would have known.
We would have known. That's like, when I think of fan service, how you were saying, Val, like comparing a female anatomy to a male anatomy, I always think of High School of the Dead, where they're like the gun
not the
between
shooting
the girl's
scene.
boobs,
not the
and
shooting
the boobs
scene. No,
that's what I think of when I think of fan service. Like, that was unnecessary. That did not have to happen. That added nothing to the scene, nothing to the plot. But like with
great
the
T, now I have to clip that in so everyone can see what you're talking about.
No, you'll just traumatize new viewers. I still body dysmorphia from that one scene. We'll never be that.
No one ever will be.
You want to talk about like body dysmorphia? I played Dead or Alive volleyball and like the game, and I was like, I have ginormous boobs, and mine do not do that. Is there something wrong with me?
Are they broken? Do they need new batteries?
Yeah, did I get installed incorrectly? Do I need to go over to like the Kia down the street and
Is there a
they
software
pump a little
I'm
bit more
missing?
air? Yeah.
It's okay,
but
T. We've all been victimized by anime boobs. It's happened to all of us.
Instead of Regina George, raise your hand if you've been victimized by anime boobs.
Okay, wait, hold on. On the topic, though, I know we're kind of talking about something, but now I'm, like, super distracted by the... Okay, so we've got all of these, like, men-dominated sports animes that are clearly heavily implicated that there's romance there. I have not watched enough female sports animes.
So I'm doing that because I got a thought going and I don't want to lose it.
Okay, great.
I'm keeping it in the brain.
I know that there was a hockey one that came out. There was like an equestrian one that came out, and then there's also one, not a real sport, but they fight with their butts.
I remember the butt one.
You're gonna have to run that by me one more time.
I remember the butt one.
Must have cut out.
So there's this sport, and basically these girls, they're wearing, I don't remember, maybe bikinis, maybe like full unitards, I don't know, but they're on these platforms in the water, and they have to try to knock each other off the platform using their butts, and that's the sport.
I think I missed out on a sport in college. I should have joined this team.
Remember how you said you're bad at sports? Maybe you're not. Maybe you just didn't find the right sport.
That's my takeaway. I've missed out on my sports career.
So, speaking of anime girl sports, I had to look this up because I didn't watch it. My husband did. It was called Birdie Wing Golf Girls Story.
The golf one was the one I was missing. Yep.
My husband loves golf, and he was like, this sounds interesting, this sounds cute, and I can't remember if it was like, sports anime where it's like implied that they're in love, or if they were actually in love. But that one they definitely did, and then he was watching another one, and I feel like this could qualify as a sport. It was called How Heavy Are the Dumbbells You Lift?
I love that one.
Oh, he loved that one. That's one of his favorites. He would work out and watch that.
That one also has a banger OP and ending song as well.
Yes! He would play it in the car, and I loved it. But I don't remember if that one had, like, did that have implied, like, people are in love kind of thing?
No, but it was the most fan service. This is probably my first experience with excessive fan service. So basically, I liked it because I work out, right? And it was cool because if you don't work out and you're watching this, they have actual, like, tips and tricks, and, like, they explain workouts to you and how your muscles move, and if you do this workout, what muscles you're working out, and it's cool. Yuri, when he's, like, got his tracksuit on, he's skinny, he takes it off, and he's chunky. This is like, you've got this trainer dude who's in his tracksuit. When he takes his tracksuit off, he's a Dorito. Like, he is built. Like, insanely built, and, like, so there's just all these built guys, but then, like, the it's mostly girls that are learning to work out, and they are all well endowed, and, like, some of them get a little chunky, but it's really just they getting thick. It was, I don't know, the intro was really good, and despite the fan service, I still enjoyed it. It was a little something for everybody.
Yeah, brings a little bit for everybody to the table.
But I wouldn't say that it was a BL or a GL or anything like that.
Yeah. But I think Birdie is either implied or is actually, I can't remember. He hasn't watched the second season yet, so it's not as fresh in my mind as it was back when he was watching the first season.
Gotta make some notes real quick, put that right on the list.
Okay, so the butt fighting one is called Kaijo. Keijo is they were wearing full, like, swimsuits, not bikinis.
I can't believe you've never seen that. And they're, like, on these podiums in the water, and they, like, they're trying to ram each other off with their butts.
Sometimes they do use their boobs. They're, like, not allowed to use, like, their hands, I think. They can, like, only use, like, they get, like, bonus points or something for using their butt. I don't know. It's butt fighting. You can't.
I'm not surprised. I haven't seen it. Big old prude.
I only knew of it because I would see clips of it online. Like, I've never actually watched it myself, but the clips that I've seen, it was similar to when I heard the dub of Skate, and I was like, why is Adam saying that? Why is he saying bitches, hoes, and non-binary bros? Is this a joke? I thought that the butt anime was a joke, and then I found out it was a full anime.
I cannot tell you how many times I have questioned if when I start the gaming part of this, if I should just start every episode with Adam's intro.
Yes!
It is my favorite thing that has ever been said in any televised media ever.
Someone write this down. Someone write it down so I can put it on my stream deck so I can keep it teed up.
We gotta use the stream deck more. We only got Howl.
I know. I only watched, I think, 3 episodes of the butt fighting one. It came out in 2016?
Yeah, it's been a minute since that came out.
Okay, wait.
Oh, it was like yesterday.
Promising gymnast abandons a shot at the Olympics to enter the exciting high-stakes sport of Kaijo butt fighting. but her dreams of earning wealth for her poor family clash with the challenging reality she faces on her way to the top.
You know what? I do have respect for leaving the Olympics to go fight with your butt. I can respect that.
A baby's gotta do what a baby's gotta do, you know?
Oh, there's a manga too. I'm pretty sure the anime got canceled. It did a whopping 1 season and saw the light of day no further. I wonder why. But there is a manga.
I bet there is.
Oh my gosh, I had totally forgotten about this one.
I did too.
Wait.
Until you mentioned that.
Wait, I think there's a girls volleyball anime as well.
I feel like there's probably
It's
more...
sand volleyball though.
Yeah. There was one, and it was an equestrian one, but
Yep.
they were centaurs.
Mm-hmm.
And
Okay.
that one was like also I think kind of sportsy because instead of like horse racing, they were like track runners, but they were centaur girls.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I heard about that one. Sorry, I need you guys to acknowledge that I googled girls sand volleyball. No other words. Expecting Google to know that I was looking for an anime. Honestly, I'm
I do
disappointed
that.
in Google.
Yeah.
It should know me by now. It's got enough info
It's
on
true.
me.
Your FBI agent is slacking.
I must be off today. Yeah,
Taking a
so
little
this
nap now.
It's a holiday.
It's a holiday.
It is.
It's the Harukana Receive is the girls sand volleyball anime. This one,
I'll look that
I
up real
think
quick.
this one does have some romantic implication because there's like the friendship jealousy thing that goes on. Like, I mean, even the synopsis here says these two are related, but there's a bunch of different pairs of girls that play sand volleyball. These two are not the romantic ones, but two troubled cousins who have major differences begin to bond and discover newfound confidence after forming a beach volleyball club at their school. So, in beach volleyball, there's only 2 people on a team. And so, yeah.
I've heard of this one. I remember it now. This always happens to me. I will agree with Bun. I am somewhat of a prude. And I always get suckered in because I'm like, wow, this animation is adorable. They're so cute. I want to watch this. And it's the raunchiest, horniest stuff on the face of planet Earth. And I'm like, why did you do that to me? But then again, I should also know by now.
We should learn. But I panic in shows, so like the moment I get smacked in the face with a boob, I panic, click out. I'm like, what have I stumbled upon? I'm not old enough for this type of media. And then I just send it over to Val and let her watch it. And she can take care of that.
Mm-hmm, yeah. I volunteer as tribute.
So I have a funny story related to that. I really wanted to play this one dating sim light novel thing. I cannot remember the name of it. But you were
Describe
a guy
it, and
who,
Bun will be able to get it for sure.
No,
you
maybe not.
were
Yeah.
It was an RPG
Okay.
that was also a dating sim. And the point of it was the guy would like sleep with girls and then they would bond and then their like power would be stronger. And then like, so I just wanted to play because I thought that was so cool. So when I would get to a sex scene, I would literally just close my laptop and just click to get through the sex scene, and then I'd open it and see if they were done, and then I'd close it again, and I'd click, and then I'd open it, and I'm like, all right, we're back to the plot. And I couldn't pick a girl because I didn't want to hurt anybody's feelings, so I got a special ending because I slept with everybody. And I didn't watch it, and I was just like, click, and then at the end, they were like, you slept with all of us, our powers combined are so strong, and I was like, I'm the best boyfriend ever.
The best boyfriend. I relate to that on such a deep level. My boyfriend and I and my friend are all playing Baldur's Gate, and I, at the beginning, was like, if a single person has sex while we play this game, I'm gonna cry. Don't you dare. And my friend who's playing it with us is like, but I'm trying to bag this baddie. She's like, I gotta get this girl. And I'm like, that's fine. Make it private. We don't need to see it.
I also went to Otakon one year, and I wanted to have this physically, like I have like fond memories of playing this game that I didn't actually play because I fast forwarded through it. But I was like, do you think that the J-list booth will have it? And my husband's like, it doesn't hurt to ask. So I walk up to him, this man at the J-list booth, and I'm like, do you have blah, 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 blah? And he's like, did you just ask for da-da-da? And I was like, yeah, do you have it? And he's like, that's niche as shit. That is like, nobody knows this game. We don't have it here, but you can get it online. And how the hell did you know that? And I was like, oh, I played it a long time ago. And I'm like super excited somebody knows this game. And he's just staring at me like I just asked him if he had an original run of the Bible.
No, but the opposite. What would be the opposite of a run of the Bible? You're like, hi, do you have this very specific type of video game pornography? I'm very interested in it. And this guy's like looking at you like, did you just ask me in public for pornography? And you're like, yes, I love it.
Wait,
do you have the original run of Bible Black, sir? The original printing of Bible Black? I would love that, thanks. Because I like the art. I'm a good boyfriend.
I'm picturing T with, like, the most innocent, like, pigtails and, like, little skirt and, like, hair bows, like, hello, sir. I would like to buy one porn, please. Like, that's
I will not play for the porn. I am legit playing for the plot, sir. I think I might have been cosplaying Toru Honda at the time also. I don't
really
remember, but I might have been.
I can relate to this on a very deep level, though.
Meanwhile, when I encounter something risque, I'm like,
Tell me more.
Okay. Go on. Oh, interesting. I don't know that movie.
If it's like written out in a book, I'm like, oh, precious, they're in love. This is romantic. The moment I visually see it, I'm like, oh no, I'm nervous. I'm sweating. I'm gonna throw up. I need an adult. Can you date men and women or only women?
I remember only women being an option.
That's a downer.
I know, I like when your options are open.
Yeah, that's still my biggest Persona complaint. We want to date the men in Persona. We want to.
Oh my gosh,
bad.
Especially in 5, every single time that I could not go on a date with my boyfriends, I was getting very upset.
I am furious that I could not take Akechi out on a date. I am so angry. I am still personally traumatized and victimized by the fact that I was not able to take Akechi on a date.
I wanted to take Akechi and Ryuji. Ryuji deserved to like be wined and dined and feel pretty, and I was so mad that I just couldn't take that boy out and show him the town.
He deserves a nice night on the town. He's an angel.
He does.
Really.
Speaking of different forms of media, you asked an excellent question, Bun, so thank you for this. We'll call it our last, like, tidbit topic for this. But what are some of your favorite games that have LGBTQ representation? It doesn't necessarily have to be dating ones, but it's also nice when there's variety.
Dream Daddy. It's Dream Daddy. Hands down.
Yes!
I love Dream Daddy. Thank you, Game Grumps. I love it so much. It is everything I never knew I needed in my life and more. And I can't wait to force my boyfriend to play it.
Yes.
It'll be so good. It'll be high quality.
I am a farm sim girly by nature, and my
farms are gay.
Farms are gay. Especially since the first one that I played was Harvest Moon, and it was the N64 one, and there was a version where you could be a girl, and it had like all the fancy bells and whistles that the previous one didn't, where you were just a guy. And I remember playing that, and I'm like, why are all the boy options so dang ugly? Like, they were obviously not meant to be romanced, and they just threw in a girl character because they wanted to. And then when I played the boy version, and I was picking my girly pop based off how cute she was, I was like, this isn't fair, I'm so upset. And then I remember later on down the line, there was Harvest Moon DS, where you could be a girl, and you could be a guy or a girl, but if you dated someone of the same gender, you weren't married to them, you were best friends forever. And I was like, all right, we're getting there. We're getting closer. And now in all of like the modern farm sim games, you can love who you want and marry who you want, and you can have kids. And I remember playing Stardew Valley for the first time, and I was like, I can date all of these people? Like, no one's off limits. This is rad. So that's my
And in
cup of
typical
tea.
T fashion, she's like, I'm dating everyone. Let's go.
Don't let anyone's feelings hurt.
I can't hurt anybody's feelings except when I'm a homewrecker and I steal that husband.
I would also like to throw in an honorable mention, Ace Attorney.
Ooh,
Because
yeah.
Oh my god!
Yes.
I could go
Ace
on a
Attorney.
tangent about how much Phoenix Wright and Miles Edgeworth are in love.
They are so in love. Beyond in they're I like to believe they're out there married with children right now as we speak. It helps
Every
me sleep at
time,
night.
every time my husband and I like go through like a replay of those games, we are like, there is not a hetero explanation for this. There's not a hetero explanation for that. Those two are married in secret.
There's one line in one of the games. It's in my opinion the worst trial of any of them. It's the circus one where he
Everyone hates
this. It's so bad.
It's so bad.
It was horrific. But there's the one comment he makes about seeing someone's bust, and he's like, not that I'm into that. And it's like, why did you have to say that, Phoenix? We know why you had to say it, because you love Edgeworth.
Drop in the comments your favorite Phoenix Edgeworth fanfic, everyone.
Please.
I was gonna say, if you say fan art, those get naughty. Oh my gosh.
There's
Drop your favorite fan art! Drop the favorite fan art!
Like, I have tried, my husband was like, don't do it, you're gonna look it up and you're gonna throw your phone and scream, you're gonna do that, because I was like, no, I want to see cute pictures of them being cute together, and then I, in fact, threw my phone and screamed.
Good luck. I one time tried to find a cute wallpaper. Have never been so lucky that I wasn't on my work computer trying to find that cute background for my work computer, because
safe search
not a single
on.
cute photo. Even then, not a cute photo to be found. I do everything with safe search because I'm 12, and not a cute photo to be found. So saying cute
For such a, like, I mean, I don't want to say pure game because every single case is about murder, but for such a, like, sweet, cute game, the fan art is naughty. It is bad.
They are hungry for this romance.
Give the people what they want. Give the people what they want, please.
And they even, like, at one point in the original trilogy, Phoenix has, like, a girlfriend, and they talk about, like, how he was dating this girl, this, that, and the other, and, like, it is very sweet, and when I see them talking to each other and everything, I'm like, oh, that's lovely, and then Edgeworth walks in, and I'm like, and that's your soulmate. You're allowed to date her, you're allowed to have feelings for her, but that man is yours.
Yeah, no, there's no world where they're not in love. No world I want to live in.
No.
I'm surprised you didn't seem to react to Dream Daddies. Have you never played Dream Daddies?
I've seen it played. I have not personally played. I also want to play Hatoful Boyfriend, where you date the birds.
Oh my gosh, it's so fun. But okay, it's gonna be really annoying and tedious, but you have to play it over it. You have to get all the endings. It'll be really annoying, but you have to get all of the endings. Phenomenal game. Could not recommend enough.
Is that also, like, is that gay? Or is it just birds?
No, it's just birds.
Oh, okay. Well, that's fine.
Only birds.
It's giving Brennan Lee Mulligan.
Honestly, somehow I can see that connection.
Yeah.
The game, though, phenomenal. So good. So good. It's weird. Could not recommend enough. You ever want a weird Otome game? You let me know. I got you.
We played Monster High together, and I enjoyed that. The writing for it is unhinged, but
in the best way.
Yes, it's good. But like I like that when you play Monster High, you get to pick your pronouns for your character. Love that.
Yeah.
There's a lot of like variation between the characters too.
There's another game that came out, I think it's called My Witchy Life, and it is also it's really cute. It's very short, but it's very cute, but you get to, like, be a little witch in the town, but you get to fully customize your character, and you can make them as, like, whatever you want. Like, there is no gender to any of it. You can pick your pronouns, and then you can also date people of the same or opposite gender. It is also a very, very inclusive game, and really cute. I just wish it was a little longer, but it was very cute.
Shout out to Animal Crossing in that vein, because in the newest one, you just pick, like, oh, do you identify as more girly or as more boy-y? Like, it doesn't ask you, are you a girl or a boy? It asks you, like, your vibe. And then you can wear any clothes. There's not a restriction for clothes in Animal Crossing, which I love. That's cool. Like, I can wear my skirt with my hardcore scary man shirt if I want to, you know? I can do whatever I want. Yeah.
I always made my Animal Crossing character cosplay. I would find the codes of people designing them online. I'd be like, ooh, I like that one. And then I'm like, I'll change her little hair, and then she's running around the little island in a little cosplay, and I'm like, hee.
I do that too. I was very excited because sometimes they partner, so my son sent me, like, all of the Princess Peach clothes, so I was able to just run around dressed as Princess Peach. Big fan of that.
Peaches. The Jack Black version.
The correct version.
What a gift.
We were truly bestowed a bountiful gift.
He didn't have to do
man
that,
himself
he did it for
is a
us.
gift.
Truly.
Thank you. Okay, so we talked about games, we talked about animes, we talked about reading stuff. I don't want to say, like, it's so hard when I'm like, manga, because I know what I mean. I mean all of the readable medias. But I know that people don't take it that way, and I don't want to say anime, video games, and readable medias, because that sounds stupid.
Yeah, there's also, like, graphic novels, too, that fall into that category. Like, a graphic novel being different than a manga, manhwa, etc.
Comics, graphic novels, webtoons.
Yeah.
Books.
Fanfics.
Light novels. Fanfic,
I feel like
readable medias.
I was gonna say, I feel like readable material is the general term that you could give that.
Yeah.
Readable media sounds like such a, like, aggressive term for readable media. Like, it's just so, like, whop.
It's very corporate.
Yes.
This is my readable media.
I enjoy readable media.
I'm DokiDokiBunBun, and I love readable media. I can't even. I can't even.
I love it too.
I also love burgers. Those are my favorite.
I know.
Especially the second version, they really popped off with that one.
It was so unhinged.
Just, like, I guess a closing remark I want to make in honor of Pride Month, because we are recording this in Pride Month. It may or may not release in time to be a Pride Month release, but representation matters. Stories have the power to make a difference. We've seen what the power of engagement can do, so let's continue to support these medias and ways that we want to see them grow, because that's the only way that they are going to grow. We want to have these diverse voices. We want all of the forms of media to thrive, because it's making a difference in real life too. Anime can change the world positively with your help.
And don't forget to go to your local library for your anime and manga needs.
Go to your local libraries and specifically request gay stuff.
Excuse me, I'll take one gay stuff, please. It'll work every time.
It does.
To T's point, I don't know, I'm gonna ramble, but go to your library, request these things. If you're spending your own money on it, that's great, because we're supporting the art, we're supporting the artists themselves. But we want these medias to get to people who don't have the means to buy them themselves too. So go to your libraries, make those requests, because that's going to get it to, I mean, we talked about people that live out in the country and maybe don't have as much exposure. They're going to go to their local library, they might find this media, they might grab it on a whim, and they might connect, and they might say, hey, I didn't realize that it was okay to feel this way. And so it's more than just us. So share your hobby, share your interest, engage with your local communities, especially your libraries. worked at library card. And until next time, this is Girls Gaze Animes.
Bye.
Eh.
Oh no. Okay. What did your pride jutsu?
Oh, my pride jutsu, yes! The hearts, the hearts, the hearts, the hearts. Ah!
Oh, you froze.
No, I know. It actually froze on a cutie thing this time, at least. That's all that we have for our listeners today. Follow us on Instagram, TikTok, YouTubes, or any of your favorite podcasting platforms. We're out there. Big thank you to our guest today.
Thanks, Bun.
Thanks for having me. It was so fun.
Of course, our listeners, thanks for supporting us. We know that we have reach outside of the US, and we think that's super cool, so share with your friends, unless you're embarrassed to share us with your friends, in which case I respect that. I'm embarrassed to share with other people as well. If you know me in real life, no you don't!